Number 10. Writing from ancient accountants. You'd think the first thing ever written down would be some deep philosophical thought or maybe a love poem. Nope, it was probably something like, Dave owes me 3 sheep. About 5,000 years ago in ancient Sumer, accountants were having a really bad time. Their job was to keep track of who owned what, who owed what, and how much grain was in storage. They tried using little clay tokens at first, different shapes for different items. But as cities grew bigger, carrying around bags of clay tokens became a huge pain. It was like trying to do your taxes with a bag of Legos, where each brick means something different. These ancient bean counters were desperate for a better solution. So one of them had this crazy idea to make marks on clay that represent the tokens. It's like they invented the world's first spreadsheet. They started pressing these tokens into wet clay, making impressions that stood for different goods. Eventually, they realized they didn't even need the tokens anymore. They could just draw the symbols. Writing was born because some ancient accountant was tired of carrying around clay tokens. These first documents were basically shopping lists and IOUs. The invention that gave us Shakespeare, the Bible, and Harry Potter started because someone needed a better way to track their sheep. The funniest part is these ancient accountants would probably be horrified to know their practical solution turned into poetry and literature. Number 9. Plastic from a billiard ball shortage. Imagine it's 1863 and you're running a billiard ball factory. You've got a big problem. You need elephant tusks to make your balls, and not just any tusks. You need the center part of really big tusks. Each tusk only gives you 3 to 4 balls. That's a lot of dead elephants for a game of pool. The elephant population is dropping fast. Your supplier just told you ivory prices are through the roof. Well, if you're the Phelan and Calendar Company, you offer a massive reward, $10,000 to anyone who can make a fake ivory billiard ball. That's approximately $300,000 in today's money. Enter John Wesley Hyatt, a printer who knew nothing about billiards or elephants. He just wanted that sweet reward money, so he starts mixing random chemicals in his workshop, probably breathing in stuff that would make modern safety inspectors faint. After countless tries, he creates this new material. It's not great for billiard balls. They would sometimes explode on impact. You line up the perfect shot and suddenly your ball turns into a tiny firework. But this failed billiard ball material became the first commercial plastic, celluloid. This stuff changed everything from film photography to fake shirt collars. Number 8. Triage from battlefield chaos. Imagine you're a doctor in 1810, standing on a blood-soaked battlefield. There are hundreds of wounded soldiers crying out for help. You've got limited supplies, few assistants, and way too many patients. You don't know what to do or who to help first. Today, we'd use something called triage, but back then, this idea didn't exist. Usually, doctors would help the most severely wounded first, or whoever screamed the loudest. But during the Napoleonic Wars, a French army surgeon named Dominique Jean Larrey had to make an impossible choice. He realized something dark, but logical. Trying to save the most severely wounded was actually causing more deaths overall. While doctors spent hours trying to save one critically injured soldier, 10 others with treatable wounds would die from lack of care. So Larry came up with a brutal solution. Ignore the screams of the dying and focus on those who could actually be saved. He divided the wounded into 3 groups: those who would die regardless of care, those who would live without immediate care, those who would only survive with immediate treatment. It was basically playing God, but it worked. More soldiers survived overall, even though it meant leaving the most severely wounded to die. Imagine being the doctor who has to walk past a dying soldier begging for help because you know you can save 3 others in the same amount of time. This system was so effective, it became standard practice. Next time you're in an ER waiting room, wondering why someone who came in after you is getting treated first, you're probably not dying, and that's actually a good thing. Modern emergency rooms still use this exact same logic. They just don't call it letting people die anymore. They call it resource allocation and maximizing survival outcomes. Fancy words for a dark but necessary practice that started as a desperate last resort on a bloody battlefield. Number 7. Chemotherapy from mustard gas. Imagine you're a doctor in the 1940s. You've got a patient dying of cancer, and you're thinking, hey, maybe we should poison them, but like, in a good way. That's literally how chemotherapy started. Back in World War I, soldiers were getting hit with mustard gas, which is exactly as pleasant as it sounds. This stuff was so nasty it could kill you just by touching your skin. But doctors noticed something weird about the soldiers who survived. Their white blood cell counts were super low. It's like their body's security team decided to take a vacation. Then some scientist had what sounds like the worst medical idea ever. Hey, what if we use this horrible weapon to fight cancer? See, cancer cells grow really fast, and mustard gas kills fast-growing cells. So technically, if you poison someone just right, you might kill the cancer before you kill the patient. It's like trying to get rid of a rat in your house by setting the whole place on fire. Sure, you'll probably get the rat, but you might lose the house too. But here's the crazy part. It actually worked. They modified the mustard gas into something slightly less murderous. The first chemotherapy drug was born. Number 6. The medicine that became happy hour. You're a British soldier in India in the 1800s. The mosquitoes are having you for dinner every night, and malaria is spreading faster than gossip in a small town. The army doctors have this medicine called quinine to prevent malaria. The only problem is it tastes so bitter it makes your face look like you just just watched your grandparents make out. But these soldiers weren't about to let bad taste stop them from staying alive. They started mixing their quinine water with gin, sugar, and lime. They turned their medicine into a cocktail party. It's like when your mom used to hide your vegetables in other food, except this time it's the military hiding medicine in alcohol. They accidentally created one of the most popular drinks in the world. Your fancy gin and tonic started as desperate soldiers trying not to gag on their medicine. The quinine is still in modern tonic water, though nowadays it's such a small amount, you'd need to drink about 67 gin and tonics to get any medical benefit. Number 5. The ice cream cone crisis of 1904. Imagine you're at the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904 selling ice cream in the summer heat. Business is booming, people are lining up, and suddenly you realize you've run out of dishes. You're about to have a crowd of angry, sweaty customers with melting ice cream on their hands. But next door, there's this guy Ernest Hamwi, selling these crispy Syrian pastries called zalabia. Ernest is having the opposite problem. Nobody's buying his waffles because they're too busy getting ice cream. Ernest takes one of his thin waffles, still hot from the griddle, and quickly rolls it into a cone shape. He hands it to his neighbor who plops a scoop of ice cream on top. And just like that, the ice cream cone was born. Not from some fancy food lab or a master chef's kitchen. Just two guys trying not to lose their shirts at a fair. The customers loved it so much, they actually preferred it to the regular dishes. Before this, people were eating ice cream out of something called a penny lick glass. You'd get your ice cream in a small glass, lick it clean, and give it back to the vendor, who would then give it to the next customer. Sharing spit with strangers was apparently totally fine back then, so maybe running out of dishes that day at the World's Fair was actually a blessing in disguise for public health. Number 4. Lobster from prison food. Imagine being so poor that your servants are threatening to quit because you're feeding them too much lobster. This actually happened in colonial America. Back in the 1800s, lobsters were considered the cockroaches of the sea. They were so abundant along the northeast coast that they'd wash up on beaches in piles 3 feet deep. People would step over them like we step over puddles today. These sea bugs were fed to prisoners, enslaved people, and poor servants. Massachusetts had laws limiting how often you could feed lobster to prisoners because it was considered cruel and unusual punishment. The thing you're paying $50 for at fancy restaurants was once considered torture. When trains started connecting the coast to inland areas, railway companies had a brilliant idea. They started serving lobster to passengers who had never seen it before. These inland folks didn't know lobster was poor people food. All they knew was this weird-looking seafood tasted amazing, and since it was served on trains, they assumed it was fancy. The railway companies weren't about to correct them. By the 1880s, lobster had transformed into a luxury item. Prices started climbing faster than the lobsters could crawl. The same prisoners who once rioted over being fed too much lobster couldn't afford it anymore. Number 3. Sonar from submarine warfare. In World War I, enemy submarines were sinking ships left and right. You couldn't see them underwater. By the time you did, it was too late. The British Navy was desperate. Some poor guy would hang over the side of the ship, stick a tube in the water, and try to hear submarines. It didn't work. Then someone had this crazy idea to scream into the ocean and listen for the echo. That's basically what sonar is. It's like playing Marco Polo with sound waves instead of words. They'd send out a ping and wait for it to bounce back. This desperate wartime invention turned out to be way more useful than anyone expected. Today, we use sonar to map the ocean floor, find shipwrecks, and track schools of fish. Without it, we wouldn't know about the massive underwater mountains, deep trenches, or that the ocean floor isn't just one flat surface. It's also how we found out that whales sing to each other across hundreds of miles of ocean. We discovered whale songs because we were trying to blow up submarines. That same technology is now in your car's parking sensors. So next time your car beeps at you while you're parallel parking, you can thank a bunch of desperate World War I sailors. Number 2. The internet from nuclear warfare. The Cold War is making everyone nervous about nuclear bombs. The military had a big problem. They needed to keep talking when half their communication centers turned into radioactive craters. This is where ARPANET comes in. It was the military's backup plan for when everything goes wrong. Every time you're scrolling through cat videos, you're using a system designed for nuclear apocalypse. They didn't want one main computer controlling everything. That would be an easy target. So they made a network where every computer could talk to every other computer. It's like having a bunch of gossipy neighbors instead of one person spreading all the news. If one neighbor gets taken out, or in this case nuked, the gossip just finds another path. The military spent millions developing this doomsday communication system, but then scientists started using it to share research papers and chat with colleagues. It's like building a nuclear bunker and finding out people are using it for book club meetings. That same doomsday system is now being used to share dancing baby videos and argue with strangers about pizza toppings. When one part of the internet goes down, everything just routes around it, just like it was supposed to do during a nuclear war. Number 1. Genes from desperate miners. Gold miners in the 1870s had a problem. They spent all day squatting, climbing, and dragging heavy rocks around, and their pants kept ripping. Miners were going through pants faster than they were finding gold. Jacob Davis was a tailor sick of miners coming in with torn pants. One day, a miner's wife asked for pants that would actually last. Davis grabbed some tent canvas from his supply. He figured if it can handle storms, it can handle mining. But the pants were still ripping at the same spots. mostly pocket corners and buttonholes. Then Davis noticed copper rivets on his workbench, the same rivets used to hold horse blankets together. He put rivets at all the spots where pants usually tear. These pants started lasting way longer. Word spread fast. Everyone wanted a pair. Davis knew he was onto something big, but didn't have enough money to patent it. So he wrote to his fabric supplier, Levi Strauss. Strauss saw the potential and partnered up. They patented the rivet idea in 1873. This desperate solution became the blueprint for modern jeans. These super tough pants designed for hard labor now sell as fashion items for hundreds of dollars. Some people pay extra for jeans that look worn out and torn.